Hello, welcome back to algebra class. Today we want to write equations in slope-intercept form. So our learning target is to be able to find intercepts on a graph and write equations in slope-intercept form by isolating y. An equation is in slope-intercept form if it takes the form of y equals mx plus b. The b value is our y-intercept, which can be written in the form of 0, comma y. M represents our slope, and when we write that out, we're going to write it in the form of m equals whatever our slope is. So when we do this on our homework, we want to make sure we are writing it that way. Okay? So next up, we have to learn what the x and y intercepts are. So the intercepts are the coordinates of the points at which a line, curve, or surface intersects a coordinate axis. So an x-intercept is the place where a line, curve, or surface intersects the x-axis, aka it's where your y equals 0. So when we write this out on homework, we would always write it in the form of x, comma, 0, because our y value is going to be 0. Also, we have a y-intercept. That is the place where a line, curve, or surface intersects the y-axis, also known as where x equals 0. When we write that, it's going to take the form of 0, comma, whatever that y value is. So let's go ahead and look at an example of what we mean here. So I'm just going to go ahead and draw a line along here. So there's our line. And to find our x-axis, it is where our graph crosses our x-axis. So if we look, right here is where our graph crosses. And in that situation, our x-intercept would be at -4, comma, 0. That is the x-intercept. To look at a y-intercept, we want to see where our graph crosses our y-axis. In this case, our graph crosses right here. So that crosses at 0, comma, 4. That's also known as our y-intercept. Now, before we graph an equation, we always want to make sure that our graph is in slope-intercept form. That means our graph should be in the form of y equals mx plus b. That's slope-intercept form. So let's go ahead and do a couple practice problems here. So we're going to write the equation in slope-intercept form, then find our slope and our y-intercept. So to do this, the first thing we're going to do is we're really going to be getting y by itself. So my first step would be to subtract 4x on both sides. And a reminder, we want it to look like y equals mx plus b when we're done. So when I do that, I'm going to have 2y equals -4x plus 6. My next step is going to be dividing by 2 on both sides. So when I do that, I'm going to have y equals -4 divided by 2 is going to give me -2x, and then 6 divided by 2 is +3. As you can see, I do have it in the form of y equals mx plus b, so I can recognize my information. So let's go ahead. We're going to look at our slope. which in this case is right here. So I would say m equals -2. Next up, I have my y-intercept, which always takes the form of 0, comma y, so it's going to be 0, comma +3. And I'm all done with that problem. Let's look at our next problem here. So in this case, I do not have an x value, but I still want it to take the form of y equals mx plus b. So I need to get y by itself still. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to subtract 5 on both sides. So I'm left with y equals 0 minus 5 is -5. Now, once again, I said I do not have an x value, but if I have nothing there, I really have 0. So I would say y equals 0 x's minus 5. So I can still figure out my slope based off of that. In this case, my slope is 0, so I would say m equals 0. And I also can figure out my y-intercept, so it's going to be 0, comma, -5. Let's go ahead and look at our next example here. So once again, I'm going to draw a line right down my equal sign here. And my first step is going to be to subtract 3 on both sides, because I want my equation to be y equals mx plus b. So when I do that, I'm left with -4y equals 2x minus 3. I'm going to divide both sides by -4. I'm left with y equals 2 divided by -4 is going to be -1/2 x. -3 divided by -4 turns out to be +3/4. So my slope is going to be -1/2. So I'm going to say m equals -1/2. My y-intercept is +3/4, so it's going to be 0, comma 3/4. That is all our problems for the day, so have a great day.